If you've ever found yourself saying, I can't stick to it, I should know better by now, or I feel like I keep failing, then this episode is definitely for you. Welcome to Talkin Sh, the podcast where we get real about the unfiltered truths women face in the quest for perfection. I'm Jana, your host, a dietitian and fellow woman navigating the pressure to have it all together, the perfect body, career, relationships, and making it all look effortless. Who set that standard anyway? Here, we're calling out the diet fads, hustle culture, beauty standards, and everything else that keeps us feeling stuck. But we're not just venting, we're diving into how to break free and rewrite the rules on your terms. So grab a coffee or a glass of wine and let's talk some shit. Together, we'll uncover how to live a life that's unapologetically yours. This is Talkin Sh. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Talkin Sh podcast. It's Jana and I'm doing another solo episode. You can think of it as a part 2 to last week's episode on the difference between ownership and accountability versus guilt and shame. And I decided to do a round 2 on this because it's something that I really want you to understand in your journey as it relates to health, because it's probably the number one thing that trips women up when it comes to truly taking care of their health and well-being and doing so in a way that is sustainable, in a way that is empowering, and in a way that it actually feels good. Because yes, your health should feel good to you. It shouldn't feel like a prison sentence or something that you're like holding on to for dear life. It should feel like freedom. It should feel like peace. It should feel like, oh my gosh, I get to do this. So I'm going to dive in and I'm going to get a little bit more nuanced as it relates to this idea of ownership and accountability versus guilt and shame. So today's episode, we are going to dive deeper, the kind of conversation that might sting a little, but will also, ideally, my goal, my hope for you is set you free. Because if you've ever found yourself saying, I can't stick to it, I should know better by now, or I feel like I keep failing, then this episode is definitely for you. We're going to talk about that difference between accountability and ownership versus guilt and shame, and why most women confuse the two. I'm going to show you how guilt and shame are quietly sabotaging your progress, how to reframe accountability so it becomes empowering, and how to finally take back ownership of your health in a way that builds confidence instead of tearing you down. So grab your coffee, take a walk, settle in, whatever you need. This one's about to shift how you see yourself, ideally forever. Hi, I wanted to share something completely new with you, my How to Eat Fast Food and Lose Weight guide. Because sometimes dinner comes in a paper bag through your car window, and no, that doesn't mean you failed at eating healthy. This guide was created for real women with real lives, from juggling careers or kids or both to those nights when cooking just isn't happening. I'll show you how to make choices that support your health even when fries are on the menu. Inside, I'll show you the exact menu hacks from McDonald's, Taco Bell, Starbucks, and other major chain fast food restaurants that keep your blood sugar steady, cravings calm, and your jeans fitting. Grab the guide today, go to my website, healthwins.org, and snag your instant download. So let's start with this question. When you mess up, and I'm air quoting that for those of you that are listening and not seeing the video. When you mess up, what's the voice in your head say? Is it kind? Is it curious? Or is it downright cruel? Most women tell me it sounds something like this. You're so bad. You always do this. You'll never change. Why can't you just get your shit together? And here's the thing, that voice isn't actually accountability. That's shame dressed up as discipline. You see, we were raised in a culture that taught us that accountability means punishment. If you fail, you must be bad. If you slip, you must be weak. If you fall off track, you must not care. But accountability, true accountability, isn't about punishment. It's about awareness. It's about learning. It's about curiosity. Accountability says, I see what happened, I take responsibility, and I choose differently next time. Here's the kicker: if you actually want to choose differently. However, shame says, you're the problem. It's all you. And I don't know about you, but I've never seen someone shame themselves into transformation. So let's break these two apart, the idea of accountability and shame. Accountability is actually active. It's honest, but it's compassionate. It says, I skipped my walk today because I didn't plan my schedule well. Next time I'll block it off I'll block it off before the day starts. You own your actions, not to punish yourself, but to improve yourself. Now, guilt, on the other hand, says, I skipped my walk because I'm lazy. I ate dessert again because I have no self-control. Guilt focuses on what you did wrong instead of what you can do next. And here's the key difference: accountability actually leads to action. Guilt leads to avoidance. When you're accountable, you step up. When you're guilty, you shrink back. This is oftentimes when you feel stuck. You hide, you delay, you wait for Monday or the new year, and you repeat the cycle of starting over again and again. So I want you to pause and ask yourself right now, when you reflect on your habits, do you do it from guilt or from true accountability? Because the answer tells me everything about why you feel stuck. Now, let's talk about ownership and shame. This is the one that hits deep. This is one that I have experienced in my own journey and still have to honestly fist fight with shame. So, ownership is the most powerful mindset you can ever step into. Ownership says, this is my life, my body, my health, my responsibility. Not in a self-blaming way, in a self-empowered way. It says, I'm in charge of my story. I can't change my past, but I can change how I show up today. That's power. That's leadership, and that's freedom. But shame is the opposite. Shame says, I'm broken. I'm never going to get this right. Something must be wrong with me. And shame doesn't motivate, it isolates. It keeps you small. It convinces you that you're the only one with this struggle. And that's when you stop showing up. You stop checking in, you stop logging meals, you stop caring, not because you don't want to be healthy, but because shame made you believe you're not capable. And let me tell you something right now. Shame is a liar. So, why do we go there? Why do we default to guilt and shame instead of accountability and ownership? Because guilt and shame feel familiar. They're the language many of us were taught as children. It's how teachers, parents, coaches, and even diet culture tried to motivate us. But here's the thing: guilt and shame might motivate short-term behavior change, but they destroy long-term consistency. Also, they destroy self-trust, self-esteem, self-confidence, but that's a whole other that is a whole other episode, and I'm not going to dive into that today. It really creates stress, not structure. It creates fear, not freedom. And both guilt and shame, they disconnect you from your body when the whole point of health is to reconnect you with your body. So if you've been stuck in this guilt shame loop, it's not because you lack discipline. It's because no one ever showed you another way. Let me paint you the cycle I see every single day with clients. You mess up, you feel guilty, that guilt turns into shame, you start restricting or punishing yourself, you burn out, you start over on Monday. If that sounds familiar, that cycle doesn't mean you failed, it means your strategy is broken and you need a new strategy. When you start replacing guilt with accountability and shame with ownership, the entire cycle breaks. It can't keep working itself. And that's the whole point. You stop waiting for Monday or the new year. You stop hiding when things go wrong because they will. You're not perfect. Sorry, none of us are. You start responding instead of reacting. And that's the difference between people who change short term and people who transform their life and their health for good. So here's your practical shift I want you to practice. Step 1 is awareness. Catch the language you use with yourself. Is it language of curiosity or is it criticism? Are you your own bully? Are you the person that's tearing you down? Or are you the person that's asking questions and learning more about you and staying curious? Step 2, pause. Before you spiral, stop. Take one deep breath. Say, I'm noticing what happened. I'm choosing how to respond. And you can stay in step 2 for however long you need. Maybe it's more than one breath. Maybe it's 100. Who knows? You get to decide when you're ready to move to step 3. So step 1 is awareness. Step 2 is the pause. Step 3, we want to reframe this. We want to change your internal dialogue. You can ask yourself, what is this moment teaching me? Not, why do I always mess this up? See how the first one is based in curiosity? What is this moment teaching me? Now we get to get curious about what is it actually teaching you? We get to learn more about you, not why do I always mess this up? That is so shame-based, and I'm going to guess you don't have an answer for that. Step 4 is act. Pick one small thing you can do next. Not a punishment, so no, not swearing off carbs for the rest of your life, because we know that doesn't work. Not a cleanse, not a restart. Just one step forward. Maybe the act is, man, I really need to go to bed. I need to get some sleep tonight. What is that one small act that you will give to yourself to nourish yourself? When you practice this long enough, something shifts. And yes, it is a practice. You start to trust yourself again. And self-trust is the foundation of every lasting transformation. So, if this conversation hit home for you today, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are not behind. You never needed to be fixed. You always needed to be loved. And you're being called to something higher. Something higher that is not from guilt and shame, and that's moving you into accountability and ownership. And if you want help doing that, that's exactly what we do inside the Healthy Body Collective. It's where we replace the should with strategy, guilt with growth, and shame with support. It's your space to build health with confidence, connection, and clarity. No punishment, no perfection required. You can join us right now. The link is in the show notes, or it's also on my Instagram. Because remember, accountability builds confidence. Ownership creates freedom. Guilt and shame only keep you stuck. And you, my friend, are way too powerful to stay stuck. So until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep giving yourself some grace.